Hey everyone, Rachel here. We're in my basement today and I'm going to show you guys how you can build cabinet doors that you can attach onto almost any size bookcase. Whether you want to just cover the bottom couple shelves or 3 or 4 shelves high, it's an easy DIY and only requires a couple tools. The first step is I'm going to measure my opening. So my width is 32 inches. And if the doors I was building were only going to cover the bottom 2 shelves, I would measure from the bottom to the underside of the last shelf. But I want my doors to cover the entire opening, so my height is 31 inches. In order to determine how much wood I need to buy, I'm going to utilize a couple of simple formulas. H is the height of the opening of the bookcase that I just measured, and W is the width of the opening. Now over here I have a simple sketch of the door, of one of the doors that I'm going to construct. This long piece of 1x3 on the side is called the stile, and the short side is called the rail. The plywood insert is 1/2 inch thick. So we'll get to that formula in a second. So for the length of the stile, I'm just going to take H, the height of the opening, plus 1/2 inch, because I'm going to have a 1/4 inch overlay on the top and the bottom. For the length of the rail, I'm going to take W, add 1/2 inch, divide by 2, because there's 2 doors, and subtract 5 inches, because each stile, the 1x3s are 2.5 inches wide. Then, for the plywood insert, I'm going to take the length of the rail, which is how long one side of the plywood is, and then the length of the stile minus 5 inches. So, to find out how much total length of 1x3 I need, I take the length of the stile times 4, because there's 4 of them needed for both doors, and add that to the length of the rail times 4. For total plywood that I'll need, the dimensions are the short side of the plywood times 2, because I'm going to need 2 of them for each door, and the other dimension of the plywood is the long side, so this right here. So we'll basically just cutting out 2 pieces this length by 2 of these, and you should only need 1/2 sheet of plywood at most if you're going to be constructing 2 doors. So these are my pieces of wood for the first door. These are all the components I need. I have the rails and the stiles, and this is the plywood insert piece. The next step is I'm going to be drilling pocket holes in the rails and in the insert piece. For the jig, I'm going to want to make sure that I have this thing, the depth set to the right thickness of the wood, which is 3/4 inch, and I want to make sure my depth collar is set to 3/4 inches also. So then I just clamp this on and drill my holes. The first step for attaching the inset piece to the sides is you want to have this plywood on some spacers. So I'm using some cardstock, and I have about 20 sheets here. So if you have a clamp, it's a good idea just so the boards don't shift, to gently clamp them. You don't want to do it too tight, because the end pieces can buckle if you do it too tight. And then you're going to take 1-inch pocket hole screws and put them in place. And I have attached on here on my cordless drill. This is the driver bit that comes with the Kreg jig. Okay, once you have that attached, you can go ahead and remove the paper. It's not needed anymore. When attaching the rails to the stiles, I always like to do the inner one first and make sure it's nice and tight. And then do this outer one gently. Just go really slow so that it doesn't split the wood on the other side. So now it's time to put the hinges on the door, and I really like the full overlay frameless hinge, these. And so what we need to do is drill a hole here, and that's what the Kreg hinge jig is for. So I just set the depth that I want the hinge to go here. I can adjust it, but I've already adjusted it to the depth I want, and I line it up to the edge here, and then I'm going to clamp it and then attach my drill bit to that, and then just drill. So the jig has little places, the exact right positioning, so you can drill pilot holes for the screws for your hinge as well. And then you're ready to attach with the holes lining up perfectly. Now that I have my doors built and the hinges installed, I'm almost ready to attach them to the actual bookcase. The only thing is, on my bookcase, there's a little bit of a gap here, like a lip, and so I need to put in a spacer. So I have some holes pre-drilled in some 3/4 inch pine, and I'm just going to attach it. This way, once I attach it, it'll be flush with the edge, and then I can install the hinge properly. So here it is, the doors are installed, and I think it looks awesome. One of the things that I really like about these hinges is that there's 3 different locations on when you install the hinge that you can adjust things. So whenever I first put them in, there's always like a big gap. It's like too narrow up here, too wide down here. These are completely off, and what I can do, let me show you how I can make these adjustments. So this hinge has 3 places that you can adjust. This screw back here, by tightening it or loosening it, moves the whole door away from the bookcase. So you can move it closer or further out. This screw moves, by tightening or loosening it, moves the door out or in, so that when you close it, it either moves closer together or further out. And then these screws, by loosening them just a little tiny bit, they're the ones that are actually attaching the door to the bookcase. By just loosening them a little bit, I can move on both the top and bottom, I can move the whole door up or down a little bit.